Coming up next on the Commissioner's Report, we're taking a look back at some of the issues, topics, and places that were featured on the program. Thanks for joining us for this 2014 Year in Review special edition of the Commissioner's Report. Hello everyone, thanks again for joining us for this special 2014 Year in Review edition of the Commissioner's Report. I'm Mike Moore. Now this program gives you a chance to hear directly from your county commissioners on the issues they're dealing with and how these issues impact the county and you, the residents of Polk County. Now coming up in this program, you'll hear from all 5 of your Polk County commissioners, Melanie Bell, Ed Smith, John Hall, Todd Dantzler, the board chairman in 2014, and George Lindsey. But before we begin, I want to say a quick word about the person you'll also see in all of our highlights with our commissioners. He's been the host of this show from the very beginning, Jim Degennaro. For the past 2 years, DG has moderated and guided this program with the same passion and zeal that he has for Polk County. And for more than 30 years, he's also been a faithful and diligent employee, a servant for Polk County. But the time is soon coming for DG to retire and to move on to another exciting chapter in his life, one I'm sure will see him staying very involved with the place he calls home, Polk County. All right, let's begin our year in review with Commissioner George Lindsey. Now, some of his key moments on the program in 2014 include the sharing of his passion for veteran services, the anticipation of new and expanding business opportunities in Polk County, and highlights from Polk County Day at our state capitol in Tallahassee. But we begin the show when Commissioner Lindsey talked about a health issue that took him to the ER. It's a personal story and a warning for all of us.
I'm in George Washington ER, headed to heart cath, standby. Learned later that Freeman and company were a little taken aback by my message.
Would be, yes.
But the doc did their thing. They went through the process and determined that I needed 2 stents. And so while they were there, they went ahead and installed the stents. And I have to say that the staff and of George Washington University was excellent in every occasion. It's a teaching hospital, of course, and you got students and doctors coming and going all the time, but that's the process of a teaching hospital, and they did a great job. So I stayed over Thursday, and the rest of the team came back Thursday, and I came back Friday, and I felt fine. But it was a lesson I wanted to share, because we can't ignore our bodies. When our bodies are trying to tell us something, we need to be cognizant of it. And honestly, you know, people say, well, they're shocked that happened to me. I'm tall and relatively thin and apparently healthy, but my lifestyle and my eating habits were not friendly to my cardiovascular system. I also cut out the meal between dinner and bedtime, you know, the stack of Oreos and the gallon of milk. So I lost almost 10 or 12 pounds in the last.
Wow, fantastic. So that's great.
But the message is take care of yourself, listen to your bodies. There's help out there, whether you're a private physician or the various clinics that are available throughout the county. So it's time to take, only you are in charge of your health. It's exclusively your responsibility, and it's your obligation to your family, your colleagues in your work, your colleagues with your elected position, your colleagues that, in whatever your walk of life is, because they depend on you and you depend on them.
The tax abatement program, Commissioner, has been very successful in Polk County by anybody's measure. To date, I think we've approved 12 of these deals. Can you please provide us an overview of some of the projects that the Board of County Commissioners has approved?
Well, the one that's probably get the most attention, of course, is Amazon. And certainly that is you know, huge to our county. They put in 1 million square feet out on County Line Road, and they've leased an additional 300,000 square feet over on 27 just north of I-4. the program that we adopted for Amazon for their new warehouse on County Line Road gives them a 75% reduction in their ad valorem taxes for a 10-year period. Now, they'll employ over 500 people, and they've installed a state-of-the-art distribution system. They have outstanding benefits for their employees, including paid college tuition, even if the employee/student wants to study something other than logistics related to Amazon. So they will be a great corporate partner. You know, it's interesting to note, even though we granted a significant tax abatement, I looked it up, that particular piece of property had been green belted for as long as Polk County has been in existence, 150 plus years. The most that piece of property ever paid in ad valorem taxes over the years past was $193.
Wow.
So that's a huge contribution, a decision that any businessman would make the same decision.
Served in World War II. My uncles have served in Korea. And of course I had classmates in high school and college that served in Vietnam. And I've had an affection for veteran services and those who give the sacrifices of time and talent to the service of our country. And when I read the book, The Greatest Generation, that really struck home to me. Veterans Services cuts through the red tape that VA often puts in front of folks, not intentionally necessary, but just by the sheer size of its organization takes a longer time. Veterans Services Department helps cut through that red tape, get the benefits and the pensions and the recognition, the medical services that they need and deserve.
One footnote, Commissioner Lindsey is now serving as the chairman for the 2015 Board of County Commissioners. All right, up next, Commissioner Melanie Bell and some of her highlights, including a trip to Nashville where she learned about Alignment Nashville. That's a program designed to improve the education and lives of children and how that could possibly be implemented right here in Polk County. She also talked about Polk Vision, where businesses, government, and individuals all work together to help build Polk County's community vision. But we begin our highlights with a show that was on the road to the Polk State College Clear Springs campus just outside of Bartow. It's where we learned and saw the college's Advanced Technology Center in action.
The impact that it's going to have on the surrounding areas is going to be unbelievable. They're going to bring in over 7,000 people that will actually go through the schooling here. So you can imagine, and that's not 7,000 just the Polk County people, it's going to be 7,000 throughout the whole United States that will be coming in, buying gas, staying at restaurants, staying at hotels to get their training.
Not long ago, you traveled to Nashville, Tennessee to learn more about an innovative education program called Alignment Nashville. What did you learn in Nashville when you traveled there?
Well, a lot of people ask why a county commissioner get involved in education, and it's very important that we do collaborate together with the school board and the Polk County Commission to talk about education. So I was invited out by the school board to go to Nashville to look at their alignment piece that they had. And actually what happened was 10 years ago, the city of Nashville was having their school board taken away from them by the state because of failing students. Their test scores were very low. And so business leaders in that community got together and decided we're not going to have this. And so they came up with an advisory council called Alignment Nashville and took the school board actually back from the state and said we're going to run it and we're going to run this like a business. We need higher ed kids graduating here, and over the 10 years, if you go back and look at their stats, my goodness, they have increased 25% of graduating students.
Phenomenal result.
Phenomenal, yes. But what does education have to do with economic development? A whole lot. So going out there and looking at their program, and this was 2 years ago. It's like, wow, this is interesting, because what spun out of their program was career academies, which we already have career academies here in the county. But most important, we need a strategic plan. Where do we get from preschool to graduation rate, and how do we offer the workforce for high-wage, high-skilled jobs when we have companies knocking on our door?
Let's talk about Polk Vision. A group of community leaders and businesses came together in, 2004, and they wanted to take our county forward, okay? And you were part of that, and varying other groups. What is your sense of Polk Vision, and how has it grown over the last decade?
Well, they use the whole county as community groups, as you said, and I was involved in that as when I was actually serving mayor at that time in Fort Meade, and they included not only the north side, but the south side, east, west of the county, to bring everybody together. And I think the main thing that came out of that was we're going to work together as one county, one Polk Vision, and have a vision to complete our task. But their task force that come out of it, they're different areas was, government task force, infrastructure, education. So, what a great place to bring this alignment piece into the Polk Vision.
I think they're employing like 75 folks, CSX is. What are some of the impacts, short-term and long-term, on the project?
Well, short-term is that we have the tax base now of CSX that's sitting there, beautiful facility if you've ever seen it. The long-term impacts is going to be jobs. We're hoping that, in maybe 2 or 3 years that we will have over 8,000 jobs. Now, this is not going to be on CSX property. It's going to be the outbuild of it, of warehouses. And when I talk about warehouses, the trains coming in with equipment on there and them taking it off, and hopefully it's going to be a high-tech corridor there that they will be able to take, hire people for not only just logistics of where it goes, but also putting pieces together, parts together to go out and maybe go to the stores or even go out into the Tampa Bay, out to the port.
Now, some of the highlights for Commissioner Ed Smith include a time when he got personal and shared about his career in the Navy, as well as his passion for a proposed veterans nursing home in Lake Alfred. Commissioner Smith also talked about those pesky mosquitoes and what Polk County continues to do to rid ourselves of. But we begin his segment on the road again at Legoland, where the commissioner was very excited, not just about the fun at the park, but the Legoland Hotel and its economic impact on jobs and tourism for Polk County.
The first thing I want to say to Adrian, I think your primary mistake is the whole hotel's not big enough. I agree. Honestly, I think you're going to find that in the first 2 years of operation, that gosh, I wish we'd made it twice the size. And I think it's going to be a great hit. And absolutely, the word has been used many times, game changer, and it is exactly that. This is going to be the biggest thing that's happened, I think, on this property for sure, and I think in Polk County for a long time. And absolutely. I want to congratulate and thank Merlin Entertainment and Legoland and everybody else involved, pleasure. And particularly you, because I know you're the head of the spear here, right here, and you're the guy that's getting all this stuff done. So we appreciate you, and we appreciate Legoland and what you're bringing to Central Florida and to Polk County. So thank you for that.
I appreciate that.
And as we look at the hotel, we see a lot of folks working here. Commissioner, tell us about the number of jobs that are going on during the construction phase of the hotel, and how many folks might be employed here.
Well, I understand, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Jones, but I understand we've got approximately 250 people involved in the project and working here, and the hotel will employ about the same number once the hotel opens, about another 250 people. So this is good news for the job picture here in Polk County. And we look forward to that, and part of our objective, as a matter of fact, and goals here as a Polk County Commission is the creation of jobs in Polk County. So this is really good news for us from that side. Spent 12 years as, quote, enlisted. That means white hat. I spent about 10 years as a chief petty officer, and about 10 years, as a matter of fact, as a commissioned officer. So I got to see all three areas. As you can well tell there, most of my time was spent in what I consider middle management. And that's where you learn the real lessons. You know, you're learning to take orders from above and you're learning to give orders below. But having been down there, you understand how those orders need to go down and to be concerned about your people. And of course, that was one of the things that was a highlight of my career. Was I always made an effort to really be concerned about the welfare of the people working for me. I had a lot of sea duty. As a matter of fact, I had 14 years at sea on 6 different ships. 3 of those were aircraft carriers. but I had other types as well. I had a destroyer, and I had an amphibious ship, and I had a cruiser. So I saw a lot of the Navy, and I saw a lot of the world as well. So it was great. I really enjoyed my career in the Navy. I just have to tell you that.
In 2013, the Florida legislature provided funding for a 7th state veterans nursing home, and they would ultimately like to operate 10 nursing homes throughout our state for our veterans. The state recently requested that communities bid for this 7th home, and we responded with 2 potential sites. What were some of the elements that the state site selection committee looked at during their visits?
Well, as I said, they looked at a strong veterans population. They asked that the properties being offered up would be donated to the state for the building. They were looking for nearby medical facilities and for trained medical professionals. They were looking for transportation in the area. They were looking for housing for the staff members. They were looking for a minimum of 20 acres, as a matter of fact. I might add to that Polk County actually offered them 47 acres, I believe.
More than double.
More than double that, which would allow for expansion. I don't think any other site offered that much property, and I think the selection committee was very impressed by that. They were looking for the availability of infrastructure. We had that and offered it. So I think we were obviously in the Polk County site of Lake Alfred were a very, very strong contender in this issue.
Commissioner Smith, you unilaterally recently created a mosquito control task force. Could you please tell us about this initiative?
Well, you know, I said what we need to do is get people together, the important people together, the players, I would say, and let's take a look at the problem. Number one, I think issue here was to determine where are the mosquitoes breeding, where is this really happening, and once we find that, then decide what can we do about it. I want to look at, number one, chemical means, and the other one is I call mechanical means. By chemical means are just what you said, the larvicides, the adulticides, and all this kind of stuff. The mechanical means, if we go into that, are trying to eliminate the mosquito breeding areas. Got Polk County mosquito control people are working with the GIS people to try to identify the sources of breeding, and we're going to work on that. And then phase 3 is once we've identified and laid the program out, the next thing is to determine how much funding are we going to need to try to control the problem, the heartworms and encephalitis for animals, among many others. We know several diseases that are very deadly to humans, and this is, well, I've got malaria, dengue fever, yellow fever, encephalitis, etc., etc.
Commissioner John Hall is up next in our Commissioner's Report Year in Review. Now, one of the highlights for Commissioner Hall was talking about how the economy was improving right here in Polk County. He also talked about SWAT, that's Students Working Against Tobacco. It's a unified movement of students working towards a tobacco-free future. And he shared about his past work with the Development Review Committee. But we start Commissioner Hall's segment with the show we shot at the newly opened Florida Polytechnic University, where the architecture isn't the only thing that stands out and is really making a difference.
As a longtime resident of Polk County and certainly as a county commissioner, you've got to be absolutely thrilled with the Florida Polytechnic coming to life on what used to be fallow ground on Interstate 4.
I am thrilled that it's here. It's, you know, it's the Florida's 12th university, and I just can't say how much of an economic impact it's going to be over the next decades. You know, you hear people say that it's going to have an economic impact, and you get the thought that it's going to be immediate, but it's not.
No, sir.
We're not talking about 5 or 10 years. We're talking about 25 and 30 years. The fact that we're going to be able to keep some of our youngest and brightest minds in Polk County, the fact that we're going to be actually acting as a magnet for some of those bright minds that will come here and hopefully stay. and the businesses that it will attract and generate.
How important is that? You know, the Williams companies of Tulsa, Oklahoma, donated 535 acres to this project, and they have a mixed-use development of regional impact adjacent to this campus. But a lot of money went into this ground before we had our groundbreaking.
Yes, it did. You know, not only the Williams Company's donation, but the county put in $25 million to build the infrastructure. And when you hear that, and when people hear that, I want them to understand that that $25 million wasn't just for the Polytechnic campus. That is for the Williams DRI. That is for the Ruthven's commercial park.
Yes, sir.
I mean, there's the boulevard out here. It is the northern boundary of the Control-Polk CRA. So there's a lot of commercial activity that is just waiting to happen as our economy comes back, and hopefully this is going to be one of the generators of that commercial activity. Everything that we see, everything that we can hear and read, our economy is improving. Our property values are coming back. I think we were at 3.65% increase in value last year. We got a good report from our property appraiser this year so far as what our tentative values may be, and we'll be waiting until June to get the final values. But it looks like we're on the way back up.
I know you sit on the board of Career Source Polk, formerly called Polk Works.
Yes.
They recently completed an initiative called Race to Place, where they found jobs for 10,000 citizens. That was pretty exciting for Polk County, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely, it was exciting. As a matter of fact, we had the governor talk about our Race to Place. We have been around the state talking to different counties. As a matter of fact, they just got back last week from talking to a county about Race to Place and how it can be done.
One of the numerous programs that you're affiliated with, Commissioner, is to promote the bettering of our lives and the lives of young people through a tobacco-free partnership of Polk County. Can you please provide us some background on this organization and its goals?
I was invited to a meeting by a student group called SWAT. I actually have one of their shirts here, if you don't mind me showing it. And it's students working against tobacco, and that is a excellent group. They're trying to reach out to every high school campus. They have multiple high school campuses already, but their goal is to have this group on as a club on every campus in Polk County, and I can't think of a better way to spend your high school years than trying to take care of us as a society and their fellow students. Got a couple of statistics, if you don't mind me sharing them.
No, because I know they're important.
Yes. Tobacco use is a leading cause of preventable deaths in the United States. It kills more Americans than AIDS, alcohol, car accidents, murders, suicides, drugs, and fires combined. 9 out of 10 adult smokers in the U.S. start by the age of 18, and 2/3 become regular daily smokers before 19. And if the current trends continue, more than 300,000 Florida kids will die prematurely from their own smoking or from secondhand smoke.
One additional footnote, Commissioner Hall is now the board's vice chairman for 2015. And that brings us to our final commissioner, the chair from 2014, Todd Dantzler. Some of the highlights of the show for him were talking about property values and how Polk County is still a solid buyer's market. He also talked about the future of indigent healthcare funding, and you'll see a segment where he introduced a young guest that was taking part in Career Day. Commissioner Dantzler also got into the spirit of taking the show on the road as he too traveled to Legoland, where he enjoyed not only the Island in the Sky ride, but discussed the preservation and transition of Cypress Gardens into Legoland and its impact on Polk County and Central Florida.
Commissioner, back in 2004, the Board of County Commissioners worked with the state and Wild Adventures theme park to secure forever part of the old Cypress Gardens. Can you please tell us what happened back in those days, Commissioner?
Sure, Angus. Back in the day, under a deal that even Jeb Bush, our governor at the time, acknowledged would only happen in Florida, the governor and the cabinet, they voted to spend about $11 million of the state's environmental land buying funds for a conservation easement on the 150-acre Polk County Park. The easement severely limits the land's future development. It doesn't prohibit it, but it really controls what they're able to do. The vote was the final step in a complex $20.5 million deal that was aimed at preserving Florida's first theme park while updating it enough to draw enough tourists to keep it open. Then the Polk County Commission spent $2.5 million to buy the 30 acres comprising the park's botanical gardens to the north, and the Trust for Public Land and other nonprofit land conservation group, they carried a $7 million mortgage for the new operator, Kent Boucher, who was the owner of Wild Adventures theme park in Valdosta. So it was a fantastic deal that had a lot of moving parts, that had a lot of components that people got together. They had one vision to make this thing happen, and they did. I think it was one of the finest examples of government at its best, preserving something that had this. And now on this site, we've got this beautiful resort. We've got a wonderful theme park that's been expanding. They've been incredible neighbors and a big part of the community in East Polk County.
The Polk County Indigent Healthcare program is scoring high marks for its compassion, outreach, and efficiency. Easy for me to say, in services. What does the future hold for this important medical service?
The half-cent sales tax for Indigent Healthcare is going to sunset in 2019, and this is going to require approval by the voters to continue. It's something that they put on themselves. They felt like taking care of our indigent healthcare needs was important enough that the entire citizenship should participate in that. So I think it was very forward-thinking. If the revenue sunsets, if this referendum is not extended, then funding source is going to be needed to cover the mandated cost at a minimum.
Special treat for our viewers today. It's Career Day in Polk County for the Board of County Commissioners, and you have a special guest you would like to introduce.
Thank you. We have Jack Petter here with us today, and Jack is here on Career Day. Pulled him out of the group to come and talk to us and tell us a little about yourself. How old are you?
I'm 11 years old.
Nice. And what do you want to do when you get out of college and as a grown-up?
I was thinking maybe go into the military, maybe be a police officer in the SWAT team.
Wow, we'd be lucky to have you. You saw some things out front earlier before I got you with a fire engine, ambulance, and a crawler that cleans out ditches. What was your favorite thing that you've seen so far?
I like the crawler when it stood up and spun around.
Kind of looked like a transformer?
Yeah.
Did you see it when it was spinning around and hit the stop sign?
Yeah.
Luckily no one was hurt though, right?
Yeah.
All right. So we got a good day planned for this afternoon, and I'm looking forward to hanging with you.
Hey, Jack, what school do you go to?
All Saints.
Excellent school.
Well, that's going to wrap up our look back at 2014 on the Commissioner's Report. I certainly hope you enjoyed watching the program. Now, 2015 is just around the corner, so we're ready to bring you another exciting, informative, and entertaining season of the Commissioner's Report. As we move into our third year, I also want to thank everyone involved with this show, including all 5 of our Polk County Commissioners, also our producer and director, Al Garcia, and of course, Jim Degennaro. And as we close this show, perhaps it's only fitting to give DG the last word, as he ended every show by always saying, please take care
and enjoy this beautiful community we call home.